be hard if you're not one of those people who can, like, eat yourself. That's how we say it in Denmark. Like, when you're running, and at a certain point you hit the wall and you're like, oh, I cannot do this anymore. But then it's a fight with your brain. You're like, oh, I cannot. But then you're like, yeah, you can. That's how you eat yourself.
Yeah.
Like, self to keep going.
You're able to dig deep, find another gear.
And for me, I'm really good at that. I just block out that I'm gonna. It's like, okay, if the exam is in 2 months, I'm gonna kill this exams, or I'm gonna die trying.
Right.
So it's one of those things. And it worked for me.
Hey everyone, it is Tuesday, which means we are back in action. This is another episode of the Now for Later podcast. I'm your host, Eric Mika. As always, very excited to be here. I hope you guys are as well. Grateful to have you here. We are so lucky. Cannot express how lucky we are to have this guest today. This is a really special one, so I'm excited for you guys to hear it. This is Nadia Nadim, who's a famous soccer, or as she likes to say, football player, because she's from Denmark. She's actually originally, without giving away too much, she's originally from Afghanistan, had to flee with her mom and sisters when she was about 10 years old, picked up soccer in Denmark where they landed, and just never looked back. She's played professional all over the world. She's regarded as the greatest Afghan football player of all time, one of the greatest Danish football players of all time. She's played over 100 games for their national team. And I mean, just incredible. She's won league titles in the US. She won a league title in France with PSG. She just signed with Liverpool. Not Liverpool. She has played with Liverpool, but she just signed with AC Milan. So, I mean, just incredible. Maybe more incredible than her soccer career is the fact that she's done it while also studying medicine. She is a medical doctor. She still needs to do her specialization. Like I said, don't want to give too much away, but I mean, like, you can't think of anyone who embodies more what we're trying to do here. And we are just huge fans for life of Nadia and everything that she stands for and everything that she's doing. So hopefully you guys enjoy this one. I'll stop talking and we'll jump right in. I'm not even really sure. I was like trying to think, because someone asked me like, oh, who's coming on tomorrow? I was talking with my wife and I told her about you, and I've told her about you before. And she was like, how did you even get her like to come on or to respond? I was like, I actually don't know. I think I just DM'd you. And
I'm a nice person.
You're a nice person. You're a very nice person. That's the answer.
Ask nice, I make time.
That's awesome.
That's it. I always try to be like as approachable as possible, because I think it's important. I don't want to be an asshole.
Yeah.
It takes an hour of my time, and I've helped you, and who knows, maybe someday I need an hour of yours.
Right.
And then you'll be like, yeah, you help me out. I'll do it for her too.
Maybe I'll be working for Delta or something and I can get you some points. That's
deal.
That's the goal. No, I'm so excited to have you. You obviously have an incredible story, incredible life, career. You have an example of balance, here on this show. I'm trying to encourage and inspire other athletes, whatever level, whatever age, to do a little bit more off the field while they're playing, because life comes quickly. The end of your career is going to come quickly. So there are little things that you can be doing to prepare for that life, after sports. I wouldn't say anything that you've done is little, right? Like, it's been very, very big. It's been an extreme example, that I think is amazing. And that's why I'm so excited to have you on. It's actually insane what you've accomplished on and off the field. So very excited to have you. Grateful to have you. So thanks for joining.
Of course. Thanks for having me. I'm excited as well.
Yeah. Well, let's, I've done a lot of research. I've watched a lot of your videos, read a lot of articles. So I feel like I know all about you. If you could just give my listeners some background about who you are, where you're from, your family. I know, you have a big family full of sisters, your story about getting to Denmark, like, just give them a little bit of context. Okay.
Well, I'm Nadia Nadim. I'm a professional football player who plays for the Danish national team, and I played in the NWSL for Racing Louisville. I might play for the international team, but I wasn't born here. I was born in Afghanistan, and we had to flee the country when I was really young because of the Taliban gaining power and killing my father, who was a general in the Afghan army. So I didn't have the easiest start in life, but I think me and my family, we decided that we wanted to make the best out of our second chance that we had gotten here in Denmark. And I think we kind of succeeded, not there, halfway there on the path where I want to be. But, you know, I'm proud of the life that we've created for ourselves. And now we want to have a bigger impact on people around us and maybe globally when I get, you know, more power.
Yeah, no, I mean, very, very cool. And it was this, you know, journey to Denmark as a refugee that you actually even discovered soccer, right? I mean, sorry, I gotta say, should I be saying football this whole interview because I can do it?
No, it's okay. You told them on Eric, but at the end of the day, it is football.
Okay, I'm gonna say football. So, I mean, you know, in insane circumstances, you mentioned, you know, your father being killed by the Taliban. You have to flee. The circumstances that I've heard you talk about, you know, that you and your surviving family had to then live in while you're in Afghanistan, you know, living in fear, living in poverty, I mean, are just insane. And then, you know, going to another country at, what were you, 10, around
Yes.
10 years old, you know, like the fear and the, you know, insecurity, like you had to grow up, you know, at 10 years old, which is insane.
Yeah, you're right. You know, one thing that I've learned or that I know is that you never know what life's going to give you. And I think the way we were, and this I know for sure, and the way we've been raised is to always be adaptable. And for us, we had a really good life. My dad was a general. My mom was a school inspector or a lecturer. I don't know what you guys call it in English.
Yeah.
I think it's inspector, yeah. And, you know, very safe environment, lived in a happy place, been taking care of all of that. But then everything just changed over one night.
Right, literally.
And we went from being here to like the lowest and not being able to just have a normal daily life where you in peace can go outside. It became a huge struggle, just like normal little things. So I think, you know, in that kind of situations, you learn very quick to adapt to the situation because first and foremost, you don't overthink what is happening. The one thing that you think about is, how do I survive?
Right.
What is the most important thing? That's your life.
Yeah.
Whenever, sorry my language, when shit hit the fan, the only thing you care about is survival.
Right.
And I think this what I was taught when I was like 9, 10 years old, younger than that. And we were taught that by my mom. So when you then survive and you arrive somewhere where everything is normal as, you know, our standards, Western standards, you are allowed to go to school, you're allowed to do sports, everything else just becomes easy. Like this is how I felt. Like I felt there's nothing that could ever get me down. There's nothing ever that can defeat me because I've seen like the lows of the low. And if I can overcome that and survive, everything else is going to be piece of cake. So, so I think, I hate to say it, you know, going through all of that, you don't want that for your worst, like, you know, your enemies, but it also made me the person I am today.
Right.
So in one hand, at times I'm almost grateful that you have to see it for me to become what I am. I would think that was part of my journey, part of my fate, like, you know, the destiny I was supposed to be on. Because I don't think I could fully become who I am without going through all that. And this is how, you know, you have two choices. I could have sat down and cried over everything happening, or say, you know what, I'll take it and I'm going to make this my machine or my engine for me to like get higher up. Yeah. And I think, you know, not only me, but all my family kind of chose the second option. My siblings, you know, everyone worked in healthcare, doctors, nurses. And as I said, I don't think I've reached where I want to be. The hunger and the desire that we all have, it's kind of, you know, frightening at times, but I kind of like it.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, that's incredible. Like, I don't even really know how to follow that up. Like, just the introspection, like, and also like what you said sounds easy to say, you know what I mean? Like, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. You know, all these things led me to where I am, but then to actually like live it and believe it and then take it and use it as the engine. Like you said, it's not easy to do, you know, so you've done it. And it's incredible to me just sitting here, you know, I have goosebumps hearing you say like, you still haven't gotten there and you still have this hunger. Like, yes, you've done a lot of cool things and you've become this person that you know, you're proud of, but it's still not enough. And you know, we need more of that. I need more of that. So I'm fired up. It's early in the morning, but I'm fired up.
Let's go.
So I mentioned your first time playing football. So correct term. Was at a refugee camp. It's kind of interesting. You said, you know, you wouldn't be who you are without going through what you went through. Part of that is true with the refugee camp. You know, you discovering football and falling in love with it and it becoming a part of your life. I mean, that's an example right there, right? Correct.
Yeah, definitely. I think, you know, I always say football saved me from a lot of things. And for me, it was my door into Denmark, the Danish society. You know, imagine being a kid who was, you know, I've been in hiding for years because I wasn't allowed to go outside. It was too dangerous. You can be killed, kidnapped, whatever. I wasn't allowed to speak when people were around because I just wasn't. I don't even know, you know, because I was a girl. There was no like really a future plan for me. I wasn't allowed to go to school, nothing. So I was like a nobody. I didn't have any identity. And then you come to this refugee camp where for the first time, my mom allows us to be outside, you know, tour around, play around with other kids. And my nature, I'm very, you know, curious, the same with my siblings. So we just like from 8 a.m. in the morning to like until midnight, we were just outside. Yeah. And I say it's fate, destiny, call it what you call it, that there was football fields next to us. And you know, at the beginning, I've heard of football. My dad was really into sports. He was very athletic. He used to play hockey, field hockey, not ice hockey, for the Afghan national team when he was younger. And he used to love soccer. Even like remember him giving us a soccer, like a football, but we played other dodgeball and stuff with it. Yeah. So the first time that I saw football, I was literally outside fences with the other kids from the camp, like, you know, hanging around and just seeing what's happening. And this moment, I think, changed my life for like, it's going to change forever, because I saw a girl playing football for the first time. And, you know, she had beautiful hair and the way she was moving. I've never seen it. I didn't knew that was a possibility for me. Right. So my obsession or my love, you know, it was instant. I knew this is what I was supposed to do. And everyone says, you know, you have the spark. I've been talking about the spark before. You need to have this. It's hard to describe, but you know when you feel something towards something or someone even, you know right away that, okay, this is it. Right. And for me, you know, I've seen a lot of movies, Bollywood movies, Hollywood movies, where you see the light hits you, angel. I think they're trying to explain the spark. So that's what I experienced at that moment. I knew right away that I had to play this game. I didn't know how that's going to happen, but I knew. So me and my friends were just kicking around like the little dodgeball, pink dodgeball that we had. No one knew what was happening, but it was a competition. And one thing that probably kept me coming back to it and like kept me practicing for 8 hours a day was that at the morning you want to do something, but you weren't able to do it. But then after 8, 9 hours, 10 hours, whatever, you suddenly got it. And you're like, I've accomplished something, I am capable of doing something that I wasn't this morning. So for me, like that gave me so much confidence and, gave me joy and happiness to grow each day. And I think this is what sport can do, it gives you like a confidence that's hard to find other places and very quickly. And it's not a fake confidence. It's actually, you're actually accomplishing something. Right. So So, and then I think it almost became, my obsession, because I needed it. I needed it to feel that, I am someone, I can be something. And yeah, slowly the joy when I play, that you forget everything what's around you. From one thing got me to the other. And I think, we are 5 sisters. The 3 oldest ones, like I'm number 2, we've always been very competitive, like always. It's something that I think my dad, and even my mom, has put into us. My dad always wanted us to compete in everything. My mom always made us compete in like school, like who has the best grades. Right. She's like, well, who's the smartest kid? And I love it. I would go very, very far to win. Like my older sister should never win over me, like in math. Oh my God. So suddenly that just kicked in, and I wanted to be the best in the camp. At the beginning, I was like, oh, I want to be better than my sister. I want to be better than this boy. And then suddenly, I want to be better in the club. So this thing that, I want more. I want to push my boundaries. I don't know, makes me happy. Like it's the reason I wake up earlier than other people. Like, because as you said, you wake up at 5. I also, especially when I want something, I wake up very to fucking make it happen, because I know not everyone is going to do that. So how can I improve myself if I don't work harder than the next person? If we do the same thing, chances of me achieving are not that high, because the other person is doing the same. So I need to do more. So this was kind of the thing, and I think 11, 10 years old is kind of late to start football for most people, and then become professional, they say. You have to earlier. But I think for me, I put more hours than a regular kid at the same age. So I start catching up really quick. Right. And then, and one thing led to the other. I was, being from outside the fences, I went in after a couple of months and asked, I want to be a part of the team. I didn't speak the language, but sports is international language by itself. You just point on me and point on the field, and they're like,
thumbs up.
Very simple. And I think the guy who allowed me to play, he was really nice. And I think this is the kind of humans that, I strive to be, someone who was open-minded, approachable, and then gave me a chance, even though I didn't speak the language. I didn't look like the other kids. I didn't even have the gear. Like for the first, a lot of months I was playing, with the same shoes that I did everything with, not like, shin guards and cleats and all that, but it didn't matter. I felt a part of something. And then, the first day they gave me my little note with the game. It was a magical moment that I don't think I'll ever forget. And the rest, I guess, is history.
I was going to say the rest is history. Hundreds of games, over 100 games for the national team, hundreds of goals. You've played all over the world. I know you played in England and France, in the US for a long time. I before we recorded this, I did the intro with your bio, and it just took me like 10 minutes, even just going down like all the accolades, so many things within the sport. What you're saying about why sports are so beautiful, why, they draw so many people, within and also from outside that want to watch and be a part of it. You were right on. I kind of want to touch on this though. You mentioned you had no identity, right? You felt like you had no identity because you couldn't do this. You didn't have a voice. You didn't really know what to do or what you could do. And then you found sports. Now it's almost like your whole identity is tied into sports because it's so fun, because it's so involving, and it gives you an identity to tie yourself into, right? A big part of what we talk about on the show then is when that ends, right? Like it's hard to then figure out who you are, right? We've had a lot of athletes come on and talk about like, when I finished, like it felt like a part of me died, like a big part of me died, and which is why I think it's so important to, be proactive about tying yourself into other things. A big part of, why I wanted to bring you on the show is because of your pursuit of excellence in football, but then also your pursuit in excellence. And it sounds like it stems from your parents and your family being so competitive, you're getting good grades, but you're also a doctor. Like, yes, I listed all these. I only, listed the accolades of football, but like you're a doctor. Like, can you tell me, why did that come about? Was there something about this identity? Were you planning for life after, or was it just a pursuit of excellence just in life that you wanted to do both?
I think it was a combination. At the beginning, when I was really young, I told you the emphasis that my mom always put on education. She was the first kid or first, like anyone in her family, to attend any school, and she had to hide behind her father, like she did behind her, like that's my grandpa's back, because he wasn't fan of girls going to school. And then when she started and she was doing well, he's like, okay, it's fine because she's smart.
Wow.
So my mom said that because I went to school, I could then, make sure that my siblings went to school. Now that we flew, we escaped Afghanistan because you guys weren't allowed to have like a voice, couldn't attend school. Now that you're here and you have all the opportunities, you better make sure that you take this opportunity. So school always been like high on her, list, education. And also on me, because I know I am her daughter.
Right.
I didn't knew what I wanted to study. I didn't knew I wanted to study medicine. I always knew that I want to study something where I can make a lot of money, because from in reality, I'm gonna lie. But
no shame in that.
Beginning, what everyone who asked me what you want to do, I was like, I want to do something where I can be rich. I will put the work in it. I will study as long as it requires, but I want. Yeah. Because for me, money equals power, opportunities. So if you have a homeless person and you want to do something for them, a hug is really nice, yes, but at the end of the day, they need shelter and food. So you need to have means. You can be the smartest person in the room. You can have the cure for cancer, but you need to have someone who's going to fund in your research. Right. So for me, I was like, from a young age, I was like, this is what I want to do. So I thought I'm going to be working in business. First, when I was around 18, I bought my first, me and my siblings, we worked from the beginning of, we worked with newspapers and stuff. So I had gathered enough money to invest in a kiosk, one of those where you can, sell magazines, chocolate, all of that. And I thought, I'm going to start with one, and then within 5-10 years, I'm going to outcompete 7-Eleven. Right. Naive thought process, but this is what I thought. And, I was really close buying my second one. But then I was like, this is not me. It's too boring. So then I was like, maybe I could see myself as a lawyer. And then if you become a great lawyer, you can do a lot of humanitarian work, but also make a lot of money. Right. I've seen what's his name? Tom, the guy from Top Gun, Tom Cruise, where he's an advocate, like a lawyer. He's like, where he talks to Jack Nicholson and he says, you can handle the truth. After watching this movie, I thought I'm going to be a lawyer because I loved it. Yeah. So went an internship in a law firm for 3-4 months, but it was way different than what I expected it to be. Yeah. And the medicine part, my oldest sister always wanted to be a doctor. My mom, she said when she was younger, she wanted to be a doctor. But for me, that wasn't in my cards, because I was like, I don't want to do what everyone else is doing. Plus, I don't want to do something my mom is forcing me to do, because my mom was like, Nadia, you'll be a great doctor. Right. But 9th grade, we have 1 week where everyone has to experience how the work world works. So you go to internship, different places that you think you have interest in. I chose a private hospital with a lot of plastic surgeries because it was the closest to our home, so I could sleep in longer. But you know what? After a week, I started loving it. The respect that the doctors had, the power that they had, and the way they helped people and could make an impact. I was like, you know what? Kind of cool. So the day where I had to apply for a university, whether I want to study, you always have 3 options and then 3 universities. You have to list 1, 2, whatever. Yeah. My brain, there's only one thing in my mind, and that was becoming a doctor. So I listed the doctor. I came in and med school, and I've been loving it. I think, I definitely want to be a surgeon. It's nice to be a doctor, but I have to work towards being. Yeah,
you have to specialize.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know, it's just, the feeling that you are capable of changing someone's life for the better. I think you can be the last person who can do something about the problem. Right now, watching everything happening around the world, and I've been following Doctors Without Borders, and you see them in crazy places, operating under insane circumstances. This is the stuff that kind of, talks to me and inspires me. And regarding, the money and stuff, I still think it's important, but for me, it's not because I care about materialistic stuff. It's more about I want to have the power to make a change, to help people around. But because for me, I don't really life's too short. I don't really care about everything else than being a good human being and giving back to the ones who don't have anything, because I know how it feels to be on the other side. Right. And that's the reason I became a doctor.
No, it makes sense. I mean, just being able to maximize your impact is what it sounds like. Just to understand, because this is actually something that I was wondering too. Where are you in your medical journey? So you finished medical school, but you're still specializing. Is that correct?
Finished medical school, hasn't started my program, specializations program yet. I'm going to do that once I know for sure that I don't want to play football anymore. Okay. But med school done. I graduated, was it 2 years ago? Yeah. A year.
And I know you said you want to be a surgeon, but you have assisted in surgeries, if that's correct. Yeah. How crazy was that? Your very first one, being in the operating room, looking around dang, I'm really doing this.
It's crazy. You know what? In Denmark, the way the system is that you are internshipping from your 6th semester, which is once you start the masters. That's the new program. But earlier, you could choose to have almost a bit of a hint during your bachelor, be a little night shift just to feel out how it is. I was so lucky that in my 3rd semester, I got into this little hospital, and I wanted to have a night shift because then I could be the only student at the entire hospital. Lucky for me, but unlucky for the other people. There's a lot of things happening that night, and so one of the doctors said, "Nadia, we are short men, so you need to wash, get ready because you have to assist me." And the coolest experience, oh my God, I couldn't believe it. I assisted 3 operations. This is the first time ever. That's crazy. One of them, I was literally my hands in an old man's guts, and I was like, wow, this is crazy. That is crazy. But that feeling, of I don't know, the adrenaline and the pressure that this is someone's life. You not fuck this up. I was loving it. Yeah. And obviously, I've been doing a lot, but that was my first time. And we did a C-section, emergency one, and I was like, oh, this is crazy.
That's high pressure. That's high pressure. You talk about your hand, the way you put your hands too, your hands are in this guy's, gut. I don't know how. I actually thought at some point I was going to be a doctor. When I was 17. I did, yeah. And there's absolutely no way. I tried to dip my toe in I've told this story a lot, but I took an emergency preparedness, an EMS class, the people that are in the ambulances and stuff. I took an EMS class in high school. My high school offered it. And it was day one, I couldn't handle the videos and the pictures, it was all fake blood, fake injuries. And I was I can't do this. I just realized that I was squeamish, and so it wasn't going to work. But when you talking about that, I'm just I don't know how you handled it. I also don't know how you handle, because a lot of athletes I have on here, I had a guy who played in the NFL for a long time a couple weeks ago, and he talked about, listen, a big part of, he went back to school. He got his master's while he was in school and playing football, but then he also went and got his doctorate in psychology. And he talked about, listen, I didn't have time during this season. I was locked in on football, American football, obviously. I couldn't just be studying and preparing for life after sports and improving myself as a person during football, because during football, that's all I can focus on. You didn't really have that choice. I feel one, because national football, your football, right? Soccer doesn't have a break, especially if you're on a national team. It's very much year round, nor does medical school really have a break. You know, my brother is in residency. He's almost finished with residency. So I understand the grind of it. You don't have a really break in either. So how were you able to manage that and balance it?
I think for me, you know, I thought the two really balance each other really well, because when you are practicing, you're like, I'm fatigued physically afterwards. But when I come home, my brain, I still feel is very fresh. That's always, I thought, I was like, you know, I still have energy. I don't want to do anything, but I can always study. So for me, like, that balance somehow worked out. Also because I felt as an athlete, you have so much time once you're done with like your practice. Right. You practice, you're in the club from, we meet in 7:30 to have breakfast, and then you're home around 3. Yeah. If you have like and everything, 3 or 4 p.m. But the rest of the day you don't do anything because you need to recover. Right. So for me, that's a long time to just watching Netflix, playing video, and, you know, PlayStation, or hanging out with your friends. So for me, I needed that time to just like, okay, sit down, I'm going to study. Right. I'm not going to say it was easy. Of course, there's going to be times, you know, when the season's getting really hard and you have a lot of games, and, you know, you also are required mentally to take a break. And I did. Yeah. But I think there's always a way to find out. And especially, I always tell this to some of the younger players. I say, you know, the best time to study is actually when you are playing professionally, because that's where you have the luxury to divide your semesters into 2 if you want to, you know. Right. You can, and you can, they're going to help you. Most universities are really understanding, like, okay, in terms of exams, can I please take a re-exam because we have a game that weekend? Right. Can I have a bit longer time? So for me, I think the bachelor, the 6 semesters, the first 3 years, I did as normal everyone else. I used to be in school from 7:30 to 3 p.m. And then I used to drive to my trainings an hour and a half. I used to train around 7, 8 at evening. And that's the reason I think I could do it in Denmark, because our trainings are in the evening. Yeah. And not everyone was full-time professional. I was full-time professional, but I wanted to also study. So the first 3 years it was easy, but later on in the when I'm doing my master's, it was really hard, and that's why it also took me way longer time than my students my fellow, you know, classmates that I started. They finished earlier than me, but I didn't really care, because it's not a competition. For me, it's just like, even if I can take one semester, one subject as per semester, that's okay. Or take one, like, you know, one semester per year. That's also okay. Just find out what you're capable of. I didn't mind being like, having no life in 2 months before my exams. This is what literally I did. I used to be like, you know, I'm good. I'm not studying too much, but I'm understanding everything. And then I used to, just before my exams, 2 months, like, my life, there was nothing else.
Just football, lock it in.
That's it, like nothing. It can be hard if you're not one of those people who can, like, you know, eat yourself. That's how we say it in Denmark. Like, you know, when you're running, and at a certain point you hit the wall and you're like, oh, I cannot do this anymore. But then it's a fight with your brain. You know, you're like, oh, I cannot. But then you're like, yeah, you can. That's how you eat yourself. Yeah. Like, self to keep going. You're
able to dig deep, find another gear.
And for me, I'm really good at that. I just block out that it's like, okay, if the exam is in 2 months, I'm going to kill this exams, or I'm going to die trying, you know? Right. So it's one of those things. And it worked for me. Yeah. I don't recommend it for everyone. I think it's nice to have a balance. But if you know, if you know your boundaries, you know how much you can tolerate, how much you're capable of having, how many balls in the air, then go for it. Yeah. I think for me, as I said, it worked because the time that I had between my trainings and games, and I knew this is what I have to study, this is how much I have to read today, I just had to be more focused. Yeah. And this is the reason I say that athletes are capable of, I think, you know, almost be better students, because your time management and your concentration / your discipline, because you've learned this from sports, is usually better. I think that's why you can be a great student as an athlete, because of the things that you've been taught through sports, discipline, concentration, time management. So I think for me, I knew that I had 3 hours to get through this much, then I could just really concentrate on that, and then not being stupid with my time, I guess. So I don't know, for me, being an athlete and then being being a student makes perfectly sense, but each to their own. If some people think that's very hard, it's never going to be easy. I didn't think it was easy. I've never said that. It's, it's been very, very hard, but at some point you have to go through the hardships to arrive where you want to be.
Right. No, I think that's very, very true. I had another guest on here who has been he's been a mentor in my life, and he kind of sparked the idea of this podcast because we had such great conversations, and he was challenging me to do these things that you're talking about. He was saying, hey, listen, you're playing pro. It's great. I think it's awesome. You should consider doing internships. You should consider finishing school, because I left school early. I still have a couple of classes to get my degree, which actually I loved how you said, hey, sometimes you just take one class a year, one class a semester, but as long as you're doing so. I've done that for the last 7 years. As a professional, I've taken at least one class a year. So it's been very, very slow, but I've done it. But he's always challenged me to do a little bit more. And he said a lot of the same things, like, now is the time. Like, you're not going to have more time. You're going to finish. Yeah. And when you get to a real job, and when you get to, real life, because sometimes, when you're playing a sport, it isn't real life. It's a lot easier. It's a lot, not easy by any means. You're waking up early, you're pushing your body, you're physically exhausting yourself. There's a lot of pressures when there's this much money on the line to win games, obviously, like, all those things go without saying, but at the end of the day, you're playing a game, and you're having a lot more fun than most people have, because you're doing something that you love. Most people don't do what they love, so when life really comes, you have to be ready. And yes, it's hard, but you put in the work now, and the fruits of your labor are going to be, they're going to be amazing. I mean, look at you, obviously, for a great example, when you finish playing football officially, you're ready to go. You're a doctor. Like, you know exactly what you're going to do. And that's not just because you sat around and hoped and waited, but you went and did something about it, which I think is incredible. All that being said, you said it's not easy. You talked about, what it takes and the level of focus and concentration. I love the term "eat yourself." I'm going to steal that. I'm going to use that, because I think it's,
go ahead.
I think it's a great way of putting it. So I love that you guys say that over there. You've been able to do, you can eat yourself for 2 months and plan for this, this one test. That doesn't mean it's easy. Are there times that I already know the answer to this, just talking to you for 30 minutes, but, like, do you even consider giving up ever? Or were there points where you ever did? Like what, for example, when you tore your ACL, I know you tore your ACL for the second time, whether it was an injury or something, where you felt like you couldn't manage, all these things that you were trying to balance, or of course, losing a loved one. Like, were there moments where you just didn't think you were going to be able to get back up, or from the beginning, you've just figured out that you always could?
I think in terms of quitting, it would never cross my mind. Like, it's just, I don't think I could live like with it. But in terms of doubting if this is the right thing, yes, plenty of times. There's so many times where I was like, why am I even doing this? Like, what is the point with it? There's so many times I've questioned myself. Let me tell you a story, in terms of like when I was really doubting, at periods. I was in Racing Louisville, and, the season's going to finish. This was just before I graduated, my final exams. The season would finish in October. And then, so usually I would study everything all the theoretical stuff myself at home, and then I'll show up for the 2 months of mandatory internship, and then at the end of the day of that you have an exam. Right. If you pass, you go to the next semester. If you don't, everything has to be retaken. So I was lacking this one subject, but because of COVID and everything, I could take it online. It was I think ethics or something.
Beautiful.
And yeah, exactly. And so, because of time difference, it was 6 hours. Denmark is 6 hours ahead. So my school would start at 8 a.m. Danish time. So I used to wake up 1:30 middle of the night, eat breakfast, be ready at 2, sit in front of, my class with my things, do my school, be finished around 7:30, 8 my time, 8 because it was 4 hours, go to training, eat breakfast / lunch because that was my lunch,
right.
Train, come back home around 3 p.m., 3:30, 4 p.m., have my lunch / dinner, study an hour, and then go back to bed. I did this for 2 months. Jeez. Yes, at times I was like, why am I even doing this? Like, right. I don't, like, what's the point? But I said, whenever I hit those, those moments where I'm like, oh, everyone's hanging out, having the best time, and I'm sitting here in a basement studying, or everyone is like on a vacation and I'm in the gym rehabbing, then I always try to refocus and find what is my motivation? Why am I doing this? Always. And as I said, the doctor thing, it was very simple. Like, I always try to imagine the light, I'm like, okay, yes, I'm this far away from finishing it. Why do I want to finish it? Because you want to be in a position where you can help people. You want to make an impact on others' lives because it's important. Why am I recovering, like, doing rehab for the second time, my ACL, like, because I love playing football and I don't want to be forced to something that I didn't want to do. I don't want to be forced to stop my career that way. I wanted to be healthy and then kill it and then say, I stopped because I don't want to do this anymore. Not because I was forced by an injury or forced by someone. And I think this is the reason I keep going. But yeah, that's normal. Quitting, never. It sounds cliche, and you're right. Sometimes when I say these stuff, I feel like, people have heard this millions of times, but I don't want to sound like a cliche. But the matter of fact is, I truly believe this. Like, this is how I do. Yeah. It's not just what I say. This is how I see it, and this is what I've been doing since I remember.
Right. It's how you operate. I mean, just while you were saying that, I was thinking, I don't think anyone listening to this is going to say it's cliche because you're doing it. Like, it's only cliche if someone's not doing it, if they're saying it just to say it because it sounds good. But everyone can read. Everyone is, I think, able to read through all that. It's absolutely not cliche because it's what you do. Like, you haven't quit. And because of that, you've been able to accomplish incredible things. One other question before I want to go into this last part, which is I call the rapid fire, where I'm just going to ask you a couple quick ones, and you can give as long or as short answers you want. But I feel like a theme, with you has been you've always wanted to give back. That's why you want to go into medicine. That's why you want to have a big platform and for example, you mentioned financially, if you're doing well financially, then you can have a bigger impact. I also feel like that can all be wrapped into the theme of voice, having a voice, right? And, one great thing about you, I was able to find a lot of things on you because your story is so unique. It's so incredible. And, there's lots of documentaries, there's TV shows, there's interviews, there's, your TED Talk, obviously, there's a lot of platforms that you've been able to reach a lot of people on. How important has that been to you? How important is that for athletes to have a voice and tell their story, to keep them, to keep them sane in this crazy world of sports, or if they are balancing things, like how important it is, for me, I'll give you an example. this podcast is my voice. You know what I mean? This is something that when I started an internship, it sparked something like, dang, this is important. You know, like I should have done this earlier. And I'm sure someone tried to get me to do it earlier, but maybe it wasn't in a way that I was receptive to. So this is my way of helping the younger version of me, you know, kicking me out of bed those times when I wanted to sleep in, and say, hey, go get an internship, go build your LinkedIn, go, you know, or get some type of summer job, like learn how these things work so that you're ready for after sports and so that you have something else to tie yourself into. Like, this is now my voice and my, you know, I think a small step in this grander vision that I have, you know, that I'm building. How important is it for us athletes to have that voice and be able to tell our story so that we have something to tie our identity into and so that we're able to inspire other people?
Yeah, you're doing great, Eric.
Thank you.
You know,
I appreciate that.
I'm pretty sure you're going to reach, you know, your final goal, whatever that is. But, you know, I think for me, the biggest thing is like the start. And you've done that. In terms of like using your voice, your platform, I think it's super important. The reason I've been so outspoken about like myself and my life is because I thought two reasons. One, I thought it was important to educate people around me because, you know, being a refugee, it has this stigma, or people have this particular image of it, you know, that, they're a certain way. And I for me, it was important to tell people that if you are given a second chance, something great can come out of it, something where it would benefit, you know, the society. Like, you know, as I said, my siblings, doctors, nurses, we pay taxes, we try to do good. Right. So, but if Denmark had said, no, they're not allowed to, or that guy said, don't play football because, you know, you don't look like that, like my kids, it will be a different story. So for me, it's about education, that people should be given second chances. And secondly, the ones who are like me, refugees, or someone who's been going through a hard time, you said it, it's about inspiring. It's about being able to relate to people. You know, I've been to so many refugee camps where I've been talking to kids and said, listen, I totally know how you feel and where you are. Right. But if I can get out and, you know, and fight for my dreams and try to reach my goals, why can't you? Right. So, and I think that's the key thing, you know, trying to inspire and trying to find people who can relate to you. And nowadays, especially, you know, with everything happening around the world and everyone has been so connected through social media, I think your voice is more important than ever, because you are a part of educating, sounds a bit like big, but like, you know, showing people how the world works, and then trying to impact something for the positive. For instance, if a great football player with millions of followers says, guys, you have to behave in a certain way at the stadiums. It's not okay to yell you know, bad words to certain players. That's not okay. I would never do it. I think that's a part of education. I don't think people are born to be evil. A lot of things happens because of ignorance. So if you have people who always promote positivity and how we should do things and what we shouldn't do, I think that's gonna have an effect on you know, on the world. It sounds really big, but that's purely true. Yeah, the reality.
That's the platform and the power that athletes that they have, and that they, when they actually wield it and use it, right? Which is what you're doing. You know, you have that platform, and that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to do. There you go. Well, you're doing it well. Not that big, you know, but I'm trying, and I think at the end of the day, I feel like I'm doing my best, and if it impacts one person, that's amazing. Right. I've been a part to impact one person's life. Yeah. But yeah, definitely think that athletes do have, like, you know, a great power, great tool to shed light on certain things in the world that could be better. Yeah, that's incredible. Well, I guess I lied. I have a second question. What's next for you? You're in Denmark right now. what does that look like? Do you have competitions, friendlies coming up? I'm not very, I'm not up to speed in what's going on in the world of football. But what's next for you? What do the next couple months look like for you, other than the events that you have? Oh yeah, you're off
season. Sports wise, I'm off season, so I'm gonna be lifting a lot, being in the gym, doing some more cardio because yes, I am healthy in terms of coming back from my ACL injury, but I need to add on, I need to be in the gym to get more explosive, more powerful. This is what I'm going to be doing. And then beside that, I have a lot of events coming up. I'll be traveling to Saudi Arabia because there's a World Football Summit. I'll do have some, my sponsor works. Everything is just piled up in my vacations usually.
Yeah, right.
But it's okay. I don't mind it. And also it's a part of being an athlete. So I hopefully end of the month, from the 20th, I get to be home and do nothing for at least 7 days. I mean, I'll be training, but nothing else. Just being in the gym.
never nothing, but less than other times. That's good. All right. So we're going to go into, like I said, the rapid fire. The first one isn't really a rapid question. It might take a second longer, but I just want to hear rapid's more like, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? That's the answer that I want. So this is a moment in sports that lives rent free in your head. Like the most incredible moment in your sports career that comes to mind. Was it a goal that you scored? Was it a game winning something that you did? Was it a championship you won or a game that was won? What's the moment that lives rent free in your head?
I think it was when I was around 12 or 13 years old, and we were playing a final 7-man aside. It was one of my first finals. We're behind 2-0, and I scored a hat trick, and we won 3-2. Wow. And that was one of my first medals that I got. Yeah. This is something in my because I always see I was the hero, I guess, in that. But also I scored, and my last celebration, I've watched some player doing the flip. Yeah. I do that, almost broke my back. So
no, you didn't.
Not doing that again, but also it was a great time.
That's so funny. There's no way you have film of that, right? I would love to try and find that.
At that point, no one was filming. My mom was never into sports, so no one ever filmed my stuff.
That is so funny. Yeah, well, that's incredible. I love that you have that balance of it was equally, you were the hero, but then also you had a moment of humility too.
I was like, oh, this is so embarrassing.
That's amazing. Who cares? When you score 3 goals, you can do whatever you want. Okay. This is something that, doing research on you is the first thing that you read. One of the very first things that you read about you is that you speak so many languages. I've read that you speak 9. I've also read that you speak 11. I mean, how many languages do you speak?
It's because the thing is, so Swedish and Norwegian are different languages, but I understand them. So sometimes they add them on. Right. So I'll say, around 9, that's probably the correct one.
Jeez. So you're underachieving. You're not even to 10. What's up with that?
I'm working on it. That'll be soon. I might learn a different language.
Yeah, there you go.
Like learning languages, and plus I feel it's a great way to connect to people,
Yeah. Okay. So here's the actual rapid fire. Cause I was thinking about how incredible it is, that you speak 9 languages. What do you think what's the most you've ever used in a given day? 24-hour cycle, you're traveling or something and you have a layover here and then a layover here. The most languages you'll use in one day. How many do you think it was? Have you ever used 6 or 7 of them? 4?
4 or 5, probably.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
4 or 5, I think. It's especially when you're traveling an international airport, when you're walking past someone and you're like, oh, you hear the conversation. Right. You're like, this guy's from India, Yeah. Or walk past, I don't know, some French people, the airport speaking Spanish. Right. So definitely around, 4 or 5.
It's kind of like 7. It's kind of like a superpower. You can, whoever is talking about whatever, you can understand them. That's pretty cool.
Cool. I'm not
you can eavesdrop on a lot of people.
Yeah. It's cool because people always get so surprised. And I am one of those people, I'm probably more American than I'm European when it comes to that part. That I like to talk to people. In Europe, no one really starts a conversation, but like in US, everyone's like, "How's your day?" And then you start a conversation.
Right.
I do that too, especially at airports, just because I can in my language.
I think that's awesome. I speak Italian. I do the same thing. The second, because there's not that many Italian speakers. Like, the second I hear it, though, I'm trying to wiggle my way into that conversation, because why not?
Yeah.
I don't get that many chances. Do you have a hidden talent?
Hidden talent. I used to be able to play the flute, but not anymore because I stopped playing when I was younger. But yeah, I used to play. My mom forced me to play the flute. That was my talent.
Okay, you couldn't play it anymore. If we sent you a flute, you couldn't do anything though.
No,
not even like.
Just how music is, practice.
That's very true. That's very true. I've never been very musically gifted, but I do know that's what it takes. Do you have a pet peeve, like something that annoys you?
There's a lot of things that might annoy me. People, I hate when people coffee breath. Don't like it.
Ooh, yeah.
Bad breath in general, bad teeth. That's something I'm like, ooh.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one, because it's like a self-awareness thing. It's like, I know when I have bad breath. It's like, and I am immediately doing something about it. I'm brushing my teeth again. Yes. I'm getting a mint. I'm getting some gum. So when people have bad breath, I'm like, man, you're just not aware,
that's true.
You're not like
when they get close to you, and I don't want to be rude, but I'm like, ooh. But I say, I'm honest, and I'm like, oh, bro, you need to get back in there. I'm sorry, I'm a good friend, but hey,
you're better than me. I mean, like, if it's like a good friend, or like my wife is obviously, she'll let me know. I'll let her know. But like, I have a hard time letting someone that I'm not really comfortable know. But maybe I'll be better at that. Okay, what is your favorite place in the whole world like to travel?
Oh, okay. San Diego.
Really?
Yes.
I like that answer. My wife and I are planning on going there in a couple months, so I like that.
It's a sick place. I just don't know. It has everything that I like, palm trees, nice weather, beach, good food. I don't know. I could see myself like settling down at a certain point in San Diego.
Yeah. It's also like not huge, it's not so busy like in LA or New York, so you can get around a little bit better. That's good. Correct. That's a good one. Okay, and then last one is what's the coolest collaboration that you've been a part of? I know you have sponsorship deals. I mentioned you've been in these commercials. I just watched the one where you were playing ping pong with Zlatan for H&M. Nike, Visa. You have all these things. What has been the coolest one that you like finished and you're like, dang, that was pretty sick that I got on that?
I think definitely the Zlatan thing. Yeah, I adored the guy since I was young. Yeah. And I used to love, I still do. I love him. I always looked up to him. Yeah. And then having to work with your idol, like, someone that the reason I looked up to him, not because only of his football, because he was so purely himself, like he always is. And I know it takes a lot of like guts, and you need to have something to just be yourself 100%. Right. So being able to work with him, I was like, I usually don't get starstruck, but first time I saw him, I was like a bit nervous. And I said, wow, I call him Ibra. I was like, I'm feeling a bit nervous, Ibra. And he's like, this is the effect. Well, I was like, great. Let's go.
That's incredible. You guys are like homies now, right? Like, yes, I see you guys do a lot of things together.
Yes. We're going to be on the same, H&M move that I'm sponsored by now. Hopefully going to work with him the next 3-4 years. Cool. So it's always great to see him, to hang out with him, and then as I said, I think he obviously sports-wise, you don't have to, right. I don't have to tell you what he's done for football, but in terms of like who he is and how he, represents himself, I think this is something that I've looked up to in a world where it's not easy to be all the time, because there are so many people telling you how to be, how to act, what to say, what not to say. Being authentically 100% him, which I found out later on. At the beginning, I was like, this must be like like a show. There's no way.
There's no way someone's like this. Yeah.
He's 100% all the
That's
time.
awesome. That's
Wait,
awesome.
are you this way around your kids as well? Your wife?
Right.
Like,
Right.
me.
Yeah. That's cool. Okay. That's it for rapid. I just have 3 more questions that are just more for our listeners. One is, where can people find you, follow you, promote you, support what you support? Like, I know you're a partner with UNESCO. Like, just tell people, your socials or how they can help, whatever you're helping.
Sure. I think usually I am on my social media, my Nadia Nadim on Instagram, Twitter, whatever. And I post, if there's events that I need people to help me with, I always post it on my social media, because this is how, you can have more people get involved. But yeah, for now, any big projects that I'm working on, not right now, whenever it's time.
Awesome. Well, they could at least follow you on Instagram for now. I cannot thank you enough. Like this, I hate to say this if I have any other guests that have been on here that are listening, but like this interview might be my favorite. I mean, like, you just blew me away with all your answers. I had so many other questions, written down, and you would just answer them all. Like, what you're doing. You have your story dialed in. I'm sure you've told it so many times, and I think that's incredible, and it's important because so many people need to hear it. So, I hope you continue to share it, and I know that it's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, because you're still hungry, because you're still wanting to do more, and that attitude is, it's infectious. So I'm inspired. I hope whoever's listening is inspired, and again, cannot thank you enough for coming on the show.
Of course, my pleasure. Thanks for having me. Thanks for the chat, and good luck with your journey.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Hey, everyone. It's me again. Just wanted to say thank you for joining us this week. Like I said, incredible story. I've never heard anything like it. So truly inspiring being there, talking with her. I got goosebumps at that time. I got goosebumps again listening back. And I don't think I'll never not get goosebumps listening to what she's been through and what she's accomplished on and off the field. So very, very cool. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure tell everyone about it. Send them our way, and make sure that you rate and review. If you liked it, let us know on Apple and Spotify. It helps us, helps the algorithm, and it'll help other people find us as well. So do that. Stay up to date on social media. We got a lot of fun stuff constantly coming out, a lot of cool clips to keep you guys engaged and keep you guys updated on what we're up to. A little bit of behind the scenes action. So do that. And next Tuesday will be another solo episode. So we'll see you then.